We are a India domiciled fund. The nature of the business makes us invest and work with founders from various regions. The India-US corridor has been up and running and active for a few decades. But we also have companies that I can recall which are active in the Middle East market. Markets like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. We are fairly regular visitors to all the major events in like GITEX in Dubai, by the Financial Authority in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. We also work fairly actively through our portfolio companies in these regions, and also look forward to working with founders and investors from this region. India is a fantastic opportunity, and in the coming years, with all the positive and continual policy framework, we expect that this will be an attractive opportunity for founders to go after India as a market, and also investors to figure out how to invest in funds and startups in India.
Hello, and welcome to Rashi Foundation. Startup world, startup ecosystem. These are some words which are not that unfamiliar. Today, we have Mayuresh Raut with us. He's the co-founder and the managing partner at Seafund. Very, very experienced, person who can help startups into the ecosystem. Has funded many startups, 25 years plus experience into data science, investments, technology, and a great human being. Mayuresh, आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, to start with, I would want you to tell us your journey. कहाँ से कैसे यहाँ तक आप कैसे आए?
So, shouldn't be a surprise. Most success stories begin from small towns. I'm also from a small town. Not a small town anymore, but I'm from Pune. Till my undergrad, I was in Pune. Went to the US, did my postgrad. Had to come back to India, run my family businesses for about 7-8 years. Got it professionalized, had wider family getting involved, and then figured out if there is a way to what would I have done if I had not come back, which is, the straight part to go back to the corporate side of things is to do an MBA. Did an MBA, was hired by GE, started doing data science from the early 2000s. I've been in data science ever since then. I have logos on my resume which are not great brands anymore, but they had their heydays when I was there. So I've done my time with GE, done my time at IBM, moved over to the client side, was with the Novo Group from Denmark, used to run global business operations for them. And whilst doing that, all senior executive leadership is usually shipped off to these B schools, talent retention, succession planning, etc., etc. That's when a bunch of us met up who had similar backgrounds. I'm talking 2012, 2013, where we were working with friends, founders abhi kaho, but friends largely, who were founders of course. But 2012, the Modi government was still 2 years away. Flipkart had raised an early round. Most of the angel networks in the offline world existed, the India Angel Network, Mumbai Angel Network. Probably Let's Venture had just started, Angel List was not in India. So the similar backgrounds, even though we came from different industries, I came from the background I told you, somebody else came from banking, a lot of guys came from the IT services background, somebody came from brands. Similar backgrounds being working with friends. So they used to approach us कि यार ये कुछ बना रहा हूँ तो इसमें कुछ data play हो सकता है क्या? I'm talking 2012. So some of the far-sighted founders already had that in their mind. ये product build हो सकता है क्या? ये business plan के बारे में क्या लगता है? और सब ये सब ठीक है तो यार थोड़े बहुत पैसा भी लगा सकता है क्या? एक छोटा मोटा amount लगाते थे. So whilst doing this program, it's a 1-year program. While you are working, you're doing all of this. So it stints in their campuses in Singapore, Fontainebleau in France. We figured out that whilst we are playing this game, can we do this outside us doing this individually? So logical thing is कि यार साधारण लोग इकट्ठा आ जाएं और as a network start deploying some money. Started doing that. I already told you what was happening on the startup side of things. तो हवा किस तरफ बह रही है हमको तो सबको मालूम था. We were 40 or thereabout. None of us had any aspirations being founders, but we wanted to continue playing this game at a larger level, which is पैसा तो एक चीज़ है, but all these experience that we had at that point, we probably had approaching 20 years of experience. a lot of things we could contribute. So small amounts of money, and at that early stage तब तो पैसे भी इतने नहीं थे. आज की दुनिया में आप किसी से भी बात कर लो, फर्स्ट सेकंड जनरेशन बिजनेस फैमिली से आ रहा है तो 4-5-6 करोड़ तो मिल ही जाते, तब वो भी नहीं मिलता था. तो जब 7-8 लोग इकट्ठा आते हैं तो वही होता है कि 2-3 लोग ही काम करते हैं, बाकी के कहते हैं कि यार तू कर रहा है ना, आई ट्रस्ट यू, यार टाइम नहीं होता है. सो as is similar thing happened, 2-3 guys were doing the brunt of the running. तो we figured out अगर यही करना है, we still had our corporate jobs, अगर यही करना है तो how do we firstly go beyond this 7-8-9-10 INSEAD alum network, or how can this be done in a more professional way where this becomes our day job. And if you extend that line of thinking, it ends with the fund. One of the founding partners at a reputed legal firm was a friend of ours. He handheld us through क्या करना चाहिए, फंड का साइज क्या होना चाहिए, रेगुलेटर को अप्रूव करने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए, क्या पेपर वर्क होना चाहिए. हम सब ये बड़े CXO लेवल जॉब से आ रहे थे, पर कभी दूसरों का पैसा मैनेज नहीं करा था. तो लोग पैसे भी देंगे, लोग पैसे देना एक बात, फाउंडर्स भी पैसे लेंगे कि नहीं. तो ऑल दैट इन रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव टर्न्ड आउट टू बी ग्रेट एडवाइस. वी अप्रोच सेबी समटाइम इन 2016-17. 2018 से हमने फंड से पैसा लगाना शुरू कर दिया. वी आर सिटिंग इन 2024, वी हैव अ न्यू फंड. डीप टेक में इतना बदलाव आया है. हम 3 पार्टनर डीप टेक से हैं, पर इसके पहले होने के बावजूद और टैलेंट होने के बावजूद द इकोसिस्टम वाज नॉट रेडी. बट अब सब चीज़ें बदल गई है. सो वी आर गोइंग डीपर इनटू डीप टेक दिस टाइम.
Okay. So tell me, you shared your journey. What was the purpose of making Seafund?
The purpose of making Seafund, as I said, was things are changing dramatically in India. India never lacked for talent, but several things had started coming together, which is by the time we started, and I also come from that industry, there were people who had spent almost 15-20 years working with some of the toughest clients in these Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies, and who had this extremely viable and vital skill sets, and who were itching to do something out on their own. So that is the genesis of our SaaS India story. We had a bunch of these founders coming out and starting out something on their own. So even though they were from the service side of things, but they had the DNA and the ability to make the mental leap from a services to a product background. That is what was changing. After the 2014 government, when was the last time you heard the Prime Minister speaking about startups and technology? We were fortunate that we had somebody from that platform talking about this sector, because everybody realized that this is going to be the next growth engine. And as a result of that, the government followed it up with a lot of policies. So SEBI fund of funds are established. Lot of grants at the federal and state level started getting created. And most importantly, the local money ecosystem started getting ready. तो जब हम 2012-13 में बात कर रहे थे, तो we had barely a handful of angel investors. Now that number runs into tens of thousands, if not more. We had India never lacked for moneyed people. But a lot of that is getting professionalized. Family offices का creation हो गया है. लोग individually तो कर ही रहे हैं, but family offices भी कर रहे हैं. Family offices इस level पे गए हैं कि the mature family offices, they have mapped out the value system, the value chain, and they have an exposure in an early stage fund, a Series A fund, a growth stage fund, a pre-IPO fund. So all that has evolved. We had some understanding within the fund कि ये सब होने वाला है. And as I said, हमको किसी को founders बनने की कोई चाह नहीं थी. हमने वो कर चुका था. But we wanted to bring our experience along with some amount of money, which can help startup founders move from a seed stage to a level where they can attract bigger and more sums of capital with bigger funds coming after us, who can help them scale up.
Okay. So I understand that you are funding startups, and do you also mentor them? What are the different kind of services you're offering at Seafund?
So again, I want to make it very clear, we are not an angel network. We are not a services company. Yes, we mentor, we advise startups. There are two. I mean, this is not a business line for us. The mentoring, advising happens at two stages. One is a pre-idea stage where we work with several IITs, some IIMs, where these founders are at a idea stage, and we help them. There is no. It's a pre bono service. Purely because our intention is we want to catch founders as early as possible and give them the first check. So the fund is, all the activities that we do are purely with the intention of making an investment. We do not charge them for mentoring. We don't have an advisory services firm. Now on the other side, as I said, we are more than the money. हर venture capital fund यही कहता है, हम भी यही कहते हैं, but hopefully our founders will justify when we say this, make this statement that we are there more than the money. I mean, you have to understand, ये जब founder और investor का जो relationship होता है, that is probably, and this is a limited time relationship. This is not like a 4-year, unlike your other significant relationship, which is your significant partner in your life. But for that compressed period of time, this relationship is as important, or in some cases even more. So the value we add is all the other things that I mentioned. Right? I mean, we want to be the first and last port of call. अच्छा हो रहा है तो obviously we are more than happy to get the good news, but we would want to know and hear the bad news as soon as possible, because that's the only way we can help them. Bad news, bad situations are best addressed as soon as possible. That's the role we aspire to play, and hopefully our founder validation justifies when we make a claim like that.
This is a great takeaway that he's just put across. Mayuresh states that हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए उनको मेंटर करते हैं. बाकी जगह आप बहुत जगह सुनते होंगे कि हम बस आपको मेंटर करेंगे तो आपको इन्वेस्टमेंट मिल जाएगी. So that is a very, very good point. Okay, now how do you, I understand this is a good point that you told me. Now, how does Seafund differentiate itself from other venture capital funds? Like, I want you to also speak about the different kind of startups you are investing into.
अगेन अभी तो यही दौर आया है कि सब वेंचर कैपिटल के पार्टनर्स ऑपरेटर्स हो चुके होते हैं, पर एक टाइम ऐसा था, अभी भी कुछ जगह है, अ लॉट ऑफ the founding team or the team within a fund, they either have a financial background or they are consultants. We are not investment bankers. We are not pure financial people. We have run businesses. At the same time, we have managed finance function also. So we have a seamless understanding about finance and money. Finance and product and technology. That is one differentiator that I'd like to tell. The other is if you go back to what are some of the businesses that we have funded, and this is not only our claim, any well-run fund who has some success stories, I can promise you there would have been dark days. There would have been days when both the founder and the investors thought कि यार ये धंधा चलने वाला नहीं, बंद करना पड़ेगा. अगर ये नहीं होता है तो वो धंधा कभी बनेगा ही नहीं, because there are so many odds stacked against a founder, right? एक तो पहले तो founding team बनने के बाद भी जमेगा या नहीं जमेगा, उसके बाद प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हो पर ये सब अपनी सोच से और अपने फर्स्ट पेन पॉइंट से बना रहे हो, मार्केट में एक्सेप्टेबली होगी भी या नहीं होगी, और ये सब होने के बाद जो इन्वेस्टर्स के एक्सपेक्टेशन होते हैं कि ये इस टाइम में इतना धंधा होना चाहिए, वो नहीं हुआ तो, और अगर अगला राउंड नहीं रेस करा तो will my current investors help me through the down period, और हेल्प भी करेंगे तो we don't have a bottomless well of money, right? तो कहाँ तक हेल्प करेंगे, नेक्स्ट राउंड, द राउंड आफ्टर दैट, उसके बाद में इवन दो वी वांट टू, इट्स नॉट अ गुड सिग्नलिंग इफेक्ट कि यार राउंड पे राउंड ही पहला इन्वेस्टर ही पैसा डाल रहा है, बाकी मार्केट में इसका कोई वैल्यू है कि नहीं. दैट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट एक्सटर्नल इन्वेस्टर्स विल वांट. सो founders have to realize that this is the role good investors will play, and this is something that we pride ourselves at within the fund. So we have, like most funds will have these stories, we have stories where we had an instance where despite the fact that the founders knew from each other well, there was a falling out, and this is life, right? There is no algo for how our emotions and chemicals in our brain work. there are situations where people who met for 3 months can stay friends for life, and there, on the flip side, there are friends who have been lifelong friends and can fall apart. Same thing happened, and when something happens, obviously the business takes a backseat. Your plans go haywire. How to make sure that the detachment is free and fair, all that takes time. As if this was not enough, the product build out took time. Then when things start going wrong, everything kind of there is a strange way of nature working, right? You take one knock and you try to address that, then you get knocked down 3, 4, 5 times. The banking partner with which they were having talks with, that agreement was taking just an inordinate amount of time, and all of that obviously translated into the business not coming through. So what do they do? We obviously play the role of a coach, a mentor, get involved operationally, and the most important thing, ये तो सब बातें हैं, ये तो सब करते हो, but धंधा चलाने के लिए और can we give them that bridge loan, that bridge, not loan, a bridge investment? We, along with the fund that was with us, co-investors, we did all of that. That is one story. The other story is we had another startup where we, along with 2 other funds, were investors in it. This was post-COVID. The founder ran out of money. There was no, one line of business was doing very well. The other line of business was taking its own sweet time. The expectations in terms of the promises or the milestones that he had not come through. He was banking on an investor coming through, but that investor did not come through because he was banking on an exit that had to happen. The exit happened, but it was not to his expectation because his valuation took a hit due to pandemic. He had the money, but then, you know, when you're pissed off, and he said, नहीं यार मैं तेरा investment नहीं करूँगा, तो क्या करे इसमें? के साथ बैठो, go through his balance sheet, find out, I mean, this is triaging, right? क्या जिंदा रहेगा, क्या मरना चाहिए, और क्या postpone करा जा सकता है. Our effort was, जिनको we had to let go, but try and make sure that you can furlough them. What it means is keep them on the rolls without paying them money because there is no money. And then once the bridge round is raised, you can give them the salaries. So we did all of that, went with a fine tooth and comb with all his cost items, his biggest cost items, helped him think through what can stay, what he should focus on in terms of business line. Is India even the right geography? Maybe look at another geography. The Middle East was a great opportunity waiting, where the paying power is more, selling the services are also more. Happy to report that this is a business that has pivoted well. He's overcome all his obstacles. He's on the verge of turning EBITDA positive, and he's well set to go out and raise his next round. But not all success stories. We also have another, the stage that we come in, the risks are high, right?
Yeah.
And investors and us are signed on to the fact that there will be mortality. We still are in a position where we have not had a single write-off, but we have another startup in the portfolio which we, along with the founder, have helped get them acquired by another large player.
Okay.
We will not return the full money, but we will get a portion of the money that we invested. So, there are good stories, there are bad stories, but ultimately the investor has to bite the bullet and figure out with the founder, yaar, ki this is amounting to a situation where you're throwing good money after bad. Shutter band karo, walk away with whatever money you can, and let's move on to the next thing.
This is great. I have always understood one thing, that the investors also invest into the people, the person itself, the founder. So now, Mayuresh, my question to you is that how do you handle losses personally also? See, of course there are challenges in building. एक फंड भी तो एक बिजनेस ही होता है ना. क्या challenges आपको लगते हैं, इनिशियली क्या आए, और कोई challenge फेस कर रहा होता है तो उसको कैसे आप डील करते हो?
I think I can answer that question with some source of satisfaction, because if you had asked me this question maybe 10 years, 20 years back, didn't have so much white hair. Obviously, the passion, the aggro of youth, you tend to overblow your successes and tend to put yourself down with losses. But having been around for a few decades, the saner ones like us realize that there is no point in getting too excited about the successes, and there is no point in kicking yourself when there is a loss. And that's what we tell founders also, ki when we say a no to an investment, it's a no for now. It's not a no in perpetuity. And founders should expect the no with reasons. Because what will a founder walk away with? He's better off knowing कि यार no, maybe your sector is not ready, or maybe we at the fund are not ready, or नहीं ये technology के लिए थोड़ा time लगेगा, or we expect the regulation to change, and then you may be the right person to do this. So how do I deal with losses? Yes, there is a period of time where you are cursing everybody and his mother along with yourself, but the change that happens is you probably spend a day doing that when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s. You probably do that for a few minutes now and you move on, because you realize that, yes, I'm talking about personally, I'll talk about the professional, the fun part of it. I mean, ultimately, if it's a personal loss, you're not answerable to anybody other than yourself and your family. But when you're wearing the fund hat, you're answerable to your investors. So there is every effort to make sure that there aren't too many losses, but you have to realize that the nature of the beast that we are playing in, which is startups, which is we are the first institutional investors after friends and family, there will be losses. Now, there are two ways you can play this game. There is one line of thought कि यार अगर आप risk लोगे ही नहीं, तो how will you get those big successes? The other line of thought is, even in a risky asset class, you are happy to ensure you have no losses if that comes at the cost of curbing your upside. How do you play this game? You have to have a balance of both, right? Because I don't think any investor is going to be happy कि if I go back and say कि भैया ये 2-3 losses आई, but if I go back to him कि यार 2-3 में पैसा गया पर ये इसमें 50x आया, इसमें 100x आया, that is what helps you return that 4x, 5x or the 30-35% IRR over that 9-11 year period that you're talking about. That's the only way to go about it. Again, what is applicable on the personal side, you have to bring it over to the business side, because you can't let those 2-3 or whatever write-offs you have take away from your attention and the focus that the winners deserve. If you don't do that, the fund, I mean, I can promise you a fund manager will not be able to raise another fund.
You know, I understand what you're trying to say, but आजकल तो ऐसी अगर 10 बिल्डिंग है ना, तो उसमें 10 की 10 बिल्डिंग्स में फंड्स हैं, इन्वेस्टर्स बैठे हुए हैं, यंगस्टर्स who are not even that experienced, इन्वेस्टर बन के बैठ गए. You know, so what is your take on that? Because it's actually, I think it's the market is going haywire somehow. I feel startup system, ecosystem क्या हो रहा है, तो वो काम भी कैसे कर रहे हैं? What is your take on that?
तो हमारे इसमें एक जोक है, अगर कुछ नहीं कर पाए जिंदगी में तो स्टार्टअप फाउंडर बन जाते हैं, और अगर स्टार्टअप फाउंडर भी नहीं बन गए तो इन्वेस्टर बन जाते हैं. तो हमारा क्या दर्जा है आप समझ लो. बट jokes aside, yes, it is a fact. But so for everything there is a positive side and a second and a negative side. जब हमने शुरू करा था, हमको we have these youngsters who come and tell us कि when they were startup founders, उनको माँ बाप को समझाना पड़ता था कि स्टार्टअप क्या होता है, क्या करते हैं. पहला सवाल था शादी कैसे होगी, तू सब छोड़ छाड़ के IIT IIM गया और ये हो गया. अभी द सेम सेट ऑफ गाइज, परसों मैं एक 24-25 साल के बंदे को गुजरात से बात कर रहा था. वो कह रहा था कि जब मैंने, और ये तो काफ़ी 2020 की बात है, तो इसके घर में ये हवा बहने के लिए थोड़ा टाइम लगा होगा, पर ही वॉज टेलिंग मी कि हिज मॉम वॉज कमिंग एंड सेइंग कि हिज मामा जी वॉज आस्किंग हर कि यार अपने बेटे को पूछो कि कहाँ पैसा लगाना चाहिए. तो ये शार्क टैंक का एक पॉजिटिव साइड है कि चप्पे चप्पे में बच्चे को मालूम है स्टार्टअप क्या है, चप्पे चप्पे में लोगों को मालूम है इन्वेस्टर क्या है. इनफैक्ट वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स वाज सेइंग, हिज डॉटर वाज सेइंग कि यार मस्ट बी अ टीनेजर, इसमें कुछ IRR मजबूत नहीं बनेगा इसमें. आई मीन ये इस लेवल पर चली है. माय 10-year-old guy is talking about ROI, son is talking about ROI. That is the positive. The negative side is people don't realize कि startup founder बनना, this is probably the most arduous undertaking any human being can impose on herself or herself. There are dark days, there are days where things just don't go right. आप और मेरे, शायद आप एंटरप्रेन्योर हो सो आई कांट स्पीक फॉर यू, बट ये हम हर एक की, इट्स नॉट एवरीबॉडीज कप ऑफ टी. टेक्स अ डिफरेंट पर्सनालिटी, टेक्स अ डिफरेंट जीन, कि यार दुनिया आपको मार रही है, इन्वेस्टर मार रहा है, माँ बाप गाली दे रही है, फिर भी आप दूसरे दिन जाके विद अ स्माइल ऑन योर फेस, आपके लिए नहीं आपके टीम के लिए आप जाके खड़ा हुए. ये हर कोई बंदे का बात नहीं है. देयर इज इन द स्टार्टअप फाउंडिंग कम्युनिटी, ये ज्यादा बोला नहीं जाता है, बट डिप्रेशन इज रैम्पेंट. Relationship within significant partners are broken because one day you are in these high flying jobs, your salaries that are approaching a crore, few crores, the next day everything goes to zero. Even though if you have a nice golden egg stashed away, you are not you can't afford to do those quarterly foreign visits. You can't have those fancy cars. Your kids can't have these birthday bashes in 5 stars. You can't, because you don't know ये नैया कब तैरने लगेगी, कब you can raise the next round. So your question started off with हर कोई इन्वेस्टर बन रहा है, हर कोई स्टार्टअप बन रहा है. बने, ज़रूर बने, पर इन्वेस्टरों को भी रियलाइज़ करना चाहिए कि अगर आप डायरेक्ट एंजल इन्वेस्टिंग कर रहे हो तो योर प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ मेकिंग मनी बेटिंग ऑन अ हॉर्स इज मच हायर देन बेटिंग ऑन स्टार्टअप्स. यू हैव टू रियलाइज कि दिस इज अनलाइक इन्वेस्टिंग इन अ लिस्टेड कंपनी, जहां आपको मसलन टीसीएस में इन्वेस्ट करना है तो मनी कंट्रोल पे जाओगे, गूगल पे जाओ, सर्च मारो, आपको जब से टीसीएस पब्लिक गया पूरा लिखा चिट्टा आता है. यू कांट गेट दैट ऑन द स्टार्टअप साइड ऑफ थिंग्स. सो अंटिल एंड अनलेस यू हैव एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दैट, do not jump into this. The second thing is, when was the last thing you spoke about your loss?
Yeah.
सब कहते हैं कि यार मैंने ये स्टॉक में 10x बनाया. इवन आई एम स्ट्रगलिंग टू थिंक कि यार मैं घर में बात करूंगा, बट जब भी दोस्तों में बात करूंगा मैं सब मेरे सक्सेसेस क्या है वही बात करते हैं. तो this is not your way to riches. Yes, people have made money, but people have made money when they've devoted their time and energies to understanding a sector. But my request to startup founders and to investors is, do not go blown away by the success stories. Every startup that you see is a success story is not an overnight success story. It is a success story that has been brewing for 10, 12, 15 years. That makes them an overnight success story. They are an overnight success story because folks like you discovered them after 10, 15 years. But the founder has that blood, sweat and toil full of journey for those many years.
And I totally agree with you, because everybody will see the person there on the magazine and the newspaper and the TV, but they don't know that there've been like uncontrollable tears. Like, I've been doing podcasting for 6 years now, and today we are recording you live. It took me 6 years to come here, and I've taken my baby steps because I know that it's not going to be easy. You know, people think that podcasting is just for fun. I honestly feel it's the best business. You can make a lot of money if you're focused, if you know what you're doing. सब कोई माइक पकड़ के तो बैठा ही है ना. I think it's great. Okay, now Mayuresh, what is your exact approach in building relationships with founders? What is that one, I would say, the mantra that you follow in your life?
It is like, as I said, I mean, for that compressed period of time, this is the most significant relationship we have. Now, the difference between a founder and an investor is, a founder has only this or maybe 3-4 investors that he's sitting on. If he has several angel investors, you know, how can he manage, right? A human can manage only one. But for us investors, especially institutional investors, we have 14 such relationships that we have to maintain, and equally well, right? So it is like when any other significant relationship, you have to give them time, you have to have scheduled meetings. At the same time, just when we were speaking, a founder had called, but he will not expect me to pick up his call, but he'll expect me to call him back within a day, if not a couple of days. That's the only way you can cultivate and nourish a relationship. You have to have a professional relationship, and beyond that, you have to also have a personal equation in terms of find something that there is a common ground, right? Common beliefs, common passions, common hobbies. But like with any relationship, you have to take the time out, no matter you have 14 such significant relationships. But that's where why we do not invest, or it's not a rule of thumb. We obviously, if it's a very FADU founder, can you use that word on your
Yeah, of course.
if FADU single solo founder, obviously will do it. But we would prefer to invest in teams because ये इसका एक skill है तो इसका complementary skills है. So that's why in a fund also, when you have a set of partners, then one guy will deal with 3-4 portfolio companies, the other will do that, the other will do the other 3-4-5. It is critical that founders also realize that within a fund, who in a significant position of responsibility has your back. अगर वो नहीं है तो then you just become another investment.
Yeah, true. And do you think this is also your success mantra? Or that is different?
Success mantra, I mean, ultimately, what is life? Life is all about your relationships, right? If you have that fixed, then the money and the reputation and everything will follow, right? It's still the startup ecosystem and the investor ecosystem still is a very small ecosystem compared to our other mature sectors, right? So everybody knows everybody. Everybody works with everybody. Sometimes we are on the same side of the deal. Sometimes we are on the other side of the deal. But as long as you are fair, you may end up saying no. But if you are fair, transparent, I think the genesis of everything is the networks and the reputation and the relationships you bring.
Okay. Before we have your last question, let's do your rapid fire now. So, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Get access to a truth serum or at least invent one. लोग straight point पे नहीं आते, घुमा फिरा के उनका भी टाइम बर्बाद, हमारा भी टाइम बर्बाद.
Excellent. What's the most interesting thing you've ever eaten?
Yeah, my Australian team, when I had gone there on a dare, they fed me alligator meat and some shelled insect. It wasn't bad, but if you overcome the initial nausea that even you experienced, it's fine.
Okay. If you were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 things would you want to have with you?
Castaway देखिए, मिस्टर विल्सन, फेडेक्स का पैकेज और टॉम हैंक्स के एजेंट का नंबर. मेरा भी कुछ जिंदगी चल पड़ेगा.
Okay. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Sit in my balcony, which I'm very fortunate to have overlooking a lake.
Okay.
Whoever is in the house, my wife travels, as I told you, wife, kids, whoever is around, just have a chat.
Okay, wonderful. So, if you could swap lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be?
Fictional character? Any background character in a sitcom. So, at least I will develop the art of laughing at jokes that are not funny.
Okay. Tell me about the weirdest business idea you've heard over coffee or tea.
Yeah, we haven't heard too many weird ideas. Maybe that is a reflection of we are not really maverick fund partners. हम सब वैसे ही हैं, सफेद बाल, no बाल. But I remember reading one startup which got funded in the US. It had no features, nothing else other than 2014 की बात है. You just send a yo to your friend. Got funded. कुछ भी हो सकता है. Just yo, yo. You can just send out that. Maybe use
and it got funded.
You send a yo and he will send back a yo to you.
Okay. That's quite weird. If you had to give a TED talk on something completely unrelated to work, what topic would it be?
So I'm a history and economics buff. Maybe I'll probably go back and research and then talk about how the economy looked in the 150 to 100-year-old Maratha rule that spanned from mid-1600s to early 1800s.
Okay. So what's your favorite movie quote?
You can't go wrong with Shawshank Redemption, or Andy Dufresne says to Red, right? Hope is a good thing, maybe the best thing, and no good thing ever dies. I think that is applicable to all of us, startup founders, everybody in life, in whatever stage of life.
Wonderful. So what is last question now. What is your one message to all the, I would say, startup founders out there, the young entrepreneurs who want to get funded? Not just funding. I would go one step back. Do startup only if you have this crying need. Every bone in your body says, यार ये क्या बकवास कर रहे हैं, इनसे ज़्यादा बेहतर मैं कर सकता हूँ.
नॉट बिकॉज मैं बिलियनर बन जाऊंगा, मैं यूनिकॉर्न फाउंडर बन जाऊंगा, ईटी में मेरा फोटो आएगा, सीएनबीसी पे आ जाऊंगा, राशि के साथ पॉडकास्ट पे आ जाऊंगा, ये सब सेकेंडरी इफेक्ट्स है। बिकॉज एक खुजली थी कि यार ये गधे हैं सब, इनको कुछ मालूम नहीं, मैं ये अच्छा कर सकता हूँ, ये तुमको सोने नहीं देता है। इफ यू हैव दैट एज, इफ यू हैव दैट यर्निंग, एवरीथिंग एल्स जो हम बात करते हैं ना, पैशन चाहिए, डीप अंडरस्टैंडिंग चाहिए, आई थिंक द वन थिंग इट शुड स्टार्ट ऑफ विथ दैट थॉट तुमको बेचैन करना चाहिए कि यार ये कोई नहीं कर रहा है और ये मैं कर सकता हूं। इफ यू कैन डू दैट, ओनली देन टर्न अ स्टार्टअप फाउंडर, एंड देयरइन लाइज द आंसर टू योर क्वेश्चन, फंडिंग के लिए क्या करना चाहिए। ये सब करोगे ना तो एवरीथिंग फ्लोज इन सीमलेसली। पर यार शार्क टैंक में जाना है, या फ्लिपकार्ट वालों ने ये करा, मेरे को 5 साल में मेरा बैंक अकाउंट में 500 करोड़ होना चाहिए, वेरी रॉन्ग थिंग टू, wrong way to go about starting off something.
It was an amazing podcast with Mayuresh. Get in touch with him. His company details are available on the podcast. In case you're looking for funding or you like to share your idea with him, get in touch with him, take an appointment, talk to him, and wish you all the luck. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.